Just really honored that to be here with all of you and share some information. And I hope that as this hour continues, that you have an opportunity also to interact. I'd like this to be kind of like an ongoing conversation. And I think what that allows is to make sure any questions or any concerns, and also that we get to learn from each other. So that's my whole intention, that we really create this. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about me. I have a doctorate in psychology, so my background is very academic, and I also have studied some Tantra, so I do have some knowledge in there. I was a teacher, and I worked in the clinical setting, so those are two types. I work from psychiatric hospitals.
Excuse me all one more time. Thank you for your patience for allowing me to interrupt. Just a couple logistical things. I got a little messed up. So I actually meant that this breakout can go until 12:22. So thank you, Pacific Standard Time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so as I was just sharing with you, my background is I am a psychologist. But why did I become a sex and intimacy coach? And I like to share like what happened with me. One of them is that I have a son who is deaf and blind. And I have a really good relationship with my children, especially when it comes to sex. They're very open ever since they were little kids. And my son, who's deaf blind, in different occasions would ask me, Mom, one of my friends, and generally they were either deaf or blind or both, would say, Mom, you know, I have a question. My friend doesn't know this about sex, and my friend doesn't know this. Can you help him out? I'm not too sure. So I started thinking about how many people in our society specifically are those that are differently able, do not have access to this information. So one of the things I do with my workshops, I also work, if you look at my on my website, I also cater and lovingly with those that are differently able, especially if they're deaf, I am more than welcome. So he had asked me questions. So then I would answer. Well, it came again and again and again. So I realized there was this huge need that does not get served out there. Then the other reason is I went to my doctor, and when I was 56 years old, my doctor said, I can't believe, Luz Maria, you still have your period. If you have your period at 56, there must be something wrong. And so they did a biopsy, they did everything. Why? Because they generally think a woman after the age of 56, if she still has her period, is likely to have cancer. And it's not. It was my orgasms, the type of open sexuality, that healing that kept my vagina, that kept my vulva, everything very active. So I started paying attention that even some doctors are not aware. She didn't even ask me. How was it possible? And then the other reason is that I'm multi-orgasmic. I can have orgasms for 3 hours, 70 orgasms, and many. And I spoke with my friends, and I talked to them about it, and hardly anyone. So then I said, you know what? I really need a change. Because if there's one thing I do know, that that orgasms heal our body. There is some chemistry that changes once we are having these multi-orgasms that starts to changing the chemistry of our body and keeps us in this bliss life. It keeps us connected. And I went through a huge trouble of 10 years in court battles, and people would ask me, how did you keep yourself? And I really believe that the reason I kept strong and feeling healthy and connected was because I had an incredible sex partner. And if there's one thing this partner did, was have these orgasms. And when you have orgasms, you release these chemicals in your brain, like oxytocin. Oxytocin is a chemical that creates connection and love. So I really attribute to who I am in terms of my health, my vitality, and almost 60 now. It has to do a lot because of my healing through sexuality. So that's the reason I decided to become a sex and intimacy coach and explore different worlds and understand what it really does for ourselves. So So what I like to start is talking a little bit about the brain in our society. Our brain is designed to survive. It is a brain to survive. I'm going to talk about the brain just in the way it's divided into three areas. We can talk about it and divide it into the right or left hemisphere, but I'm going to talk about it how it's divided into the hindbrain, which is the lower brain where the pons. I'm going to talk about the midbrain, which is the limbic system. It's right in the middle, and then the neocortex or the frontal cortex, which is on the outside. The way when we start having sex, it starts in the brain. That's how it starts. It doesn't start somewhere else. It actually comes with our senses. As soon as our senses come, there's actually circuits in our brain. These circuits in our brain is like a highway. So we have from the frontal cortex that has a circuit to the limbic system, and there's some connections to the forebrain, to the hindbrain. So when we're having sex, the moment you start thinking about what disconnects you from sex, the moment you start thinking about, oh my goodness, look, I'm having sex, and you start looking at the ceiling, you see dirt, or you start thinking, oh, what about the kids? Or I gotta do this tomorrow. As soon as you disconnect yourself from that circuit with those thoughts, you go into somewhere else. Now, if you have had a terrible experience in your life sexually, or there's a lot of thoughts, what that does, that circuit actually goes to the back of the brain, which is the hind brain, the lower brain, and that's the part where it's the fight or flight, and it protects you, and it stops you from pleasure. So when I'm going to talk about just those three particular areas. All right. Any comments, thoughts, or questions so far? I just really like to create this as just an on conversation. No? Okay. So here we are. Go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about prepubescent like sexual like violation, like molestation? Can you?
Yes. What does it happen when there's an abuse? Okay, so there's a sexual abuse when you're young. That actually gets imprinted. It's getting imprinted in the body. It can actually get imprinted, and it's also in your brain. So when you meet someone at the beginning, the sex, you say, well, you know, I have couples that say, I met this person at the beginning, we were having sex, and it was great. But after like 3 months, it actually started to change back again. It's because the body, the brain has that information imprinted. So what it does, it remembers, and it goes back to the hind brain, and it says, hello, be careful. You need to survive. That situation that happened to you can happen again. So it alerts you and it stops you. So instead of being connected to your body and to the pleasure, you actually stay connected to that old information that it's there. So that's pretty much the way what happens. So in order for you to really take that blockage out, you really have to do some work. So that when you're in that circuit, you don't go to the circuit and go back to the hindbrain to where you're actually in this fight or flight mode. Because when you are getting molested, in order for you to survive that space, you need to go in the hindbrain, which says, protect me. Let me see what I can do. So that's the reason is that affects our continuous pleasure in our life. Did that answer your question?
Yes, somewhat. I feel like I have a very special case, so I might talk to you about it later.
Okay. All right. So, yeah.
Just a question. If people have questions, would you like them to write you, or would you like them to write me, and then I can interrupt, or we can wait until the end to ask questions? What would you prefer? Or just live, like Orion just did?
I think I just prefer live. If it's okay with all of you, they can just ask the questions. If that's all right with all of you, and just open up the mic and then they can just share. Now, if
So
there's
just
a
make
lot of
sure,
back, go ahead.
so
If
just
there's
make
a lot of
sure,
back, go ahead.
so just make sure you're close to Luz Maria so she can see you and hear you. And if she can't, I'll tap in.
Yeah.
When you ask the question.
So once we have, oh, thank you, Deb. So what's happening in our brain? So we have this circuit that is going on. So when you're in this place of pleasure, you're enjoying the sex and intimacy, and it's all full blown, it's delicious, you're connected with your partner, and then at that time you start releasing chemicals in your brain, and you also start releasing chemicals in the area of your genitalia. You release the hormones. So you start releasing hormones in neurotransmitters in two different places, the brain and your genitals. So you have that going on. You have the circulatory. The vagus nerve, which is a nerve that connects from the brain to your genitalia, is the one that is communicating. So how do you have these delicious multi-orgasms? How do you keep them? What it is, you need to stay in that brain circuit. That means you need to stay connected with your body. You need to stay connected with your body. So if you're having a thought or whatever it is that you're enjoying at that moment, the longer you keep it, the longer you continue to release oxytocin, dopamine, prolactin, and when you do that, that starts releasing in the brain. And then you have the different hormones that are being released in your vagina and in your vulva. So what's really, go ahead.
One thing I wanted to say was, I noticed that you're saying partner, and so maybe you can speak to also masturbation, and like if somebody either doesn't have a partner or they just enjoy orgasm, self-orgasm, or is this focus mainly about having a partner?
No, actually, thank you for sharing that. You don't have to have a partner. You can actually do it on your own. You can have a masturbation. You can masturbate and still create this. That's no problem. Right now, I'm actually moving. I ended up a relationship, and I'm cleaning my energy, so I take care of myself. So yes, masturbation is a way to create and continue to have all of this flow. And what I do is I connect with love. I visualize someone I love, partner, and I just stay connected with my body. So yes, you can actually do this through masturbation, so you do not need a partner. Now, these multi-orgasms also, as long as you stay in this state of gratification and connected with your body, the way it occurs for male is that you do not actually have an ejaculation. Where a woman can actually orgasm, a man holds on to that ejaculation. And if you do that, the man holds on to the ejaculation maybe one time, two times, does not ejaculate, but just is stayed in the state of pleasure. Whereas a woman can actually orgasm once, twice, three times, you continue. But the key in it is in the delayed gratification, both for the man and for the woman. The longer you stay in this delay of gratification, the more chemicals you're still producing in your brain and also in your vagina. So that's the key thing right there, is that delayed gratification, and you have this most delicious orgasms. Now the thing is really important is that when people think of an orgasm, they think of one big explosive, which you can. But we're talking about multi-orgasm, is these little juicy, delicious little flutters. You have one, then you have a big one, then a small one, and then it's like a little wave. And the same thing is for the male while they hold it. One way to do that is a man puts his penis And while it's inside or holding on, just hold on to that gratification. Whereas the woman, you hold on to the gratification in your brain and have one and continue the stimulation and have another one. Your mind is your biggest orgasm. That is the biggest place you do. I'm so sorry. I was decided to do this like in just a natural way without having the structure as a teacher that I've always have been. And it's so I'm actually I got myself pretty nervous, so I'm sorry about that.
You're doing great.
I'm not used to it. I'm so used to here.
Luz, we have a question actually.
Okay, go ahead.
So someone asked, is all the physiology the same when it comes to the, like, how your body's reacting in the brain and the body for, you know, masturbation or doing it alone versus with a partner?
Yes, the brain activity is the same. It is the connection that really makes a difference. And what happens is that once you have, there's the brain activity, and then there's the energy, the kundalini energy, the chakra energy that we have. So there's two things that are happening. And so there is the chemicals that get released, and once you have your orgasm, once you're connected to that experience, observe how that energy goes and starts moving. You can actually see how it spreads that energy down your legs and up your body, and the longer you have an orgasm, you actually feel it like the kundalini goes from the bottom all the way up, and it go back to the brain. You actually feel the movement, and it's the most incredible experience to have, and it actually gives you energy for days. So that's one thing. Now, what is our biggest culprit to avoid this? It is really the cultural values that we have. This patriarchal society that we have lived in is the things that stop us. That's the one we go out of that pleasure circuit and go into our cortex and start saying and analyzing or thinking it's bad. We have this good girl syndrome that we have to behave in a certain way. And when we have this good girl syndrome, therefore, part of the things that this society says, well, as a good girl, pleasure is not acceptable. How many times when you see the little girl, if you observe little boys and little girls, when we're young, they touch themselves. They touch. It's natural. Every child, some do more. And what do parents? Hit them in the hand. Don't do that. Don't pleasure yourself. Get away from that. Disconnect yourself. I'll share one experience. When I was 11 years old when 10 years, I think it was around 10 years old, 9, 10 years old. And I was at the YMCA, and it was my first time seeing naked women. I come from a background where you're not supposed to see people naked. It was my first time at the YMCA, and I saw hair on a woman's vagina and her vulva, all that hair. So what was my view of that? Oh my God, what is that? The information I had stored about in my brain about life at that 10-year-old girl was religion. That must be evil. God punished her for having that pubic hair. I've never seen it. It looks ugly. Therefore, it must be a punishment. That's what I believe. I didn't know any better. I had no conversations with anyone. So what happened when I was 11, 12 years old and I started growing pubic hair? Oh my God, God noticed that I was, lying. God noticed that I must have done something wrong. So I started shaving, hiding, feeling shame. because that was the information I had. I had no knowledge, no one to tell me, because that's what our culture tells us. This patriarchal was, my mother was not supposed to ever share with me anything regarding sexuality. So here we are at our youth not knowing anything regarding sex. So all of this information is with us. Don't have sex until you get married. So here we are getting married and suddenly become a wonderful partner to your husband or to your mate. All of a sudden, we're supposed to take that imprint that has been there and shift it. And it doesn't work like that because the brain already registers, so we need to shift it. I don't know if some of you have experienced those things in our culture that they taught you. What are the things that you learned in your culture that told you that sex was bad? Does anybody like to share?
I'll share. Maybe.
No? Okay.
Oh.
I can share.
Okay.
Oh, Laura, please share. Do you see Laura, Luz?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead, Laura.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. I think something from my youth or my family in particular was never that you shouldn't be touching yourself, but that you definitely shouldn't be talking about it or letting anyone know that you've done it, which is a really confusing concept for a child. Sorry, I don't have my earbud in. Sorry if it's hard to hear me.
And
no, I can hear you well.
And just make sure you repeat what she says when you respond for the people who can't hear Laura. Just a reminder.
Yeah, that was confusing as a youth. It's okay.
So what I heard Laura share with us is that parents allowed her that it's okay to touch, but it's not okay to share with others. So that contradiction in it. So it's like, is it okay or is it not okay? So you're kind of growing up with that.
And I'll share.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
It's actually something my mom said about dating, that the girls were never supposed to be the aggressors, so we have to be passive and wait for the men to take action.
Yes. What I heard Marie say, I think that those that are a little bit distant, is that we women have to wait until the man is the one that's supposed to approach us. So what does that do for us in our sexuality? That obviously is we have to, if there's someone we're connected to, and if that person is not willing to connect with us, is willing to connect with you, we may miss an opportunity. And it also says that men have this privilege over women. So we have this mixed information.
And it looks like Lindy. Oh, perfect. You got it, Lindy.
So, so what you can actually hear, what I'm hearing with Lindy, in terms of what the brain would do, the brain would actually say, hey, so the moment you have your urges, as humans, our body has those urges. The urges then say, hey, it feels good. And then the hindbrain says, remember, fight or flight. That is a terrible, there's going to be a violent, you're going to get smacked, or there's going to be a consequence. So what it does, it stops from that joy and pleasure. And that affects our relationships with our partners or even with ourselves. the unwillingness to even try to masturbate because we feel, uncomfortable. There's many women that do not masturbate. They feel it's an awful thing to do because they get punished by it. Thank you, Lindy, for sharing.
I think that Allie also has a share, but I don't think I see her. Okay, you gotta get closer to me. There you go. Yeah. No. Maybe let's pause and refresh and come back.
So our culture, in order for us to really create these most awesome experience sexually, is identify what are those things in your family, in your culture that stop you from the pleasure. So that is the first key thing. Once you identify those things that rule you, that take over you, whether it's in your father, your mother, or that you picked up in society. Though those are things you need to identify. The other thing that stops a lot of women from pleasure is their view of their own body, the body shame. Here they're having sex and they're enjoying it, and they turn around and they look at their belly and they say, "Oh my God, look, it is so unattractive." And as soon as you go there, you stop the circuit that's in the brain that's giving you pleasure. So a lot of the body shame stops you from really enjoying yourself. And then we get into this feed of oneself. You have that body shame of how you look about yourself, what you think about yourself. So then what we end up doing is we end up sabotaging ourselves and stopping ourselves, but making the situation so that others would not come and come towards us. We actually stop that disconnect. And we end up really, more than anything, seeking pleasure through food. And that is one of the things that I've noticed with some of the clients, that ones that have body shame, the pleasure is no longer organically what their body needs. It really becomes substitution, and one of the big substitutions for women is food. Because we're able to hide behind it.
I was just going to say, I think I can see Allie now. Can you see Allie, Luz?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Go for it.
Ali shared with us that only bad girls have sex. We have this Madonna, the syndrome, where there's only girls. And what that does to us, it stops us right away from that moment. It's the moment we feel our pleasure. And it's so important to identify those things. And we have so many of them. Like I shared with you some of the things I grew up with, but we all have them. Our society, we have to look at a certain way. We have to be at a certain way. And all of that stops us from these staying connected in the brain to have many orgasms. Are there any other things you'd like to share?
And if you're not hearing, I would just mute yourself. I have a question, Luz. So,
go ahead.
What do you think, since social programming is so deeply embedded for all beings, both male-bodied and female-bodied, what are some steps, to begin the journey to really break some of those molds or break some of those stories that we have so we can reconnect with our body?
The first thing is you identify those cultural, those religious, those social norms that really affect you. And you actually start identifying them. Once you know, you see how they start playing out in your life. And you will actually start identifying them while you're actually having sex. You'll see how they will show up. Like, for example, if you have to look at a certain way in order to meet someone, or a perfume, or you have to dress, or you have to be, and you see how those cultural norms stop you from calling or meeting this person. Or even reaching out to that man you're attracted to, because a cultural norm told you, hey, don't go there. You have to wait them to connect with you. And you can miss that opportunity. So the first thing is identifying those cultural norms. If these cultural norms are so embedded in your brain where they don't allow you to connect, then understand what is happening, so that you need to really, what you need to do is really connect with your body. One of the things that Tantra does, it gives you, teaches you breath work. Through the breath work, you stay connected with your body. One of them is called the bliss breath. And the bliss breath is, if you, I don't know if you know this one, but if you actually put your fingers in your throat and you breathe, and you're going to make a sound behind your throat. And when you do that, you will actually feel something different. So what I like to do, let's just try this bliss breath. And what we're going to do is we're going to take 5 breaths in and out. Make that sound. Did you experience something different in your body when you took that breath, that you were no longer thinking, you were more focused on the breath and what it actually was doing to your body? So if you stay connected to your breath, it makes a huge difference even in your sexuality when you're intimate. So when you stay connected to the breath, not only stay connected to your own breath, connect with the breath with your partner. So when you are being intimate, or even with yourself, stay connected with your breath. You feel it, and that breath also becomes arousing. There's another breath you can do to actually start getting your kundalini excited. What is in that breath is you actually put your hands in the lower part of your, right where it sits, where your vagina and your lower part of your abdomen. And once you do that, what you want to do is breathe low, and you push out your stomach and with your nose. So you go, and you're actually pushing in and out. And what that does is starts waking up your kundalini, the lower part of your energy, to bring that. So one thing I do is to keep myself ready in that space that I'm alone. I do my breath work first. I do my breath first here. The bliss. Then I wake up my kundalini by putting my hands in my lower abdomen. I do that. I breathe. And I try to do that for about 15 sets. I wake up, and you should actually see blood flow, energy just flowing all through your body. And if I've actually been having like a bad day, or thoughts that are affecting the quality of my life, or anything that I feel stuck, what I do is the third breath. I take my hands up, and then I bring my hands down to my waist. And every time I do this, I do a ha. So why don't we all try that? So if you have any energy that is stuck, you can actually do this. Take your hands and go ha. Bring it all out. Ha. 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 let go anything there that is stuck. Let there any negative energy that is there, let it go. Do you feel anything different in your body just with this short? Any would like to share? Did any of you feel like you got more connected with your body, Veronica? Yeah, with the breath. So that is always a great way to start your
What did she say,
intimacy.
Luz Maria? Sorry, we some of us can hear.
Veronica said that she feels tingles all over her body, and it does. It starts creating that circulation, that blood flow all over your body. And when you're creating that blood flow all over your body, you're actually getting the brain and everything working together. So you have the circulatory system that really needs to help to bring that, to create that orgasms or that energy. And this is actually just good to do, like in the morning or any time of the day that you're feeling stressed. When I feel stressed, you know, one of the things that I do is my breath. Breath is of course, your yoga, but breath is really, really important. It really allows you to connect with your partner and with yourself.
Another question is if you're a male-bodied person, all these 3 breaths that you've just shown us, can a male-bodied person do this also, just so we're staying in the conversation of inclusivity?
Yes, yes. Yes, they are. Definitely. Male body, female body. It is an energy, and in the energy is energy.
What did you call that breath one more time?
So one of the things, go ahead.
Sorry, Luz. Cassie asked, what did you call the last breath? Is that right? Okay, yes, the last breath.
Well, I call it the sound breath. The sound breath. And it's to really let go, and you can just use it in anything when you're tense or actually, when I was in a legal battle, one of the things I did was use my sound breath before I would go into court or after court to clean anything that was there. And that was very, very helpful for me. It's very, very powerful. That sound breath, just totally let it go. And it actually helped right now relax.
Thank you.
When you deny orgasmic pleasure, you actually deny other pleasures in your life. Start observing that. Start observing how that is happening. Our body, you know, to totally be free, we need to be in our truth within our body. And this body is made to be multi-orgasmic. All of that information that we had in the past was taken away from us. And talk about Huitzilopochtli, which is the god that we are honoring this weekend. A lot of the information regarding sexuality has actually been taken out. When you are having an orgasm and when you're having more than one orgasm, you're multi-orgasmic, and you're having these bunch of little flutters, that's getting yourself in a place of connecting to the divine. Because in those moments, you are actually free. And when you have one and another, it's like going into this deep meditation. So these moments of bliss is moments that we connect with the Creator or to the universe, whatever it is that the way you may define it. And it's true for all of us. And what I find really interesting in this area is that now what our ancestors or what the East is teaching us through Tantra And what now the Western is, we're finally coming together. It's like, for example, before, when I learned on sex, there was no such thing as multi-orgasms. Women did not have more than 3 orgasms. That was it. But because a lot of women are talking about all these more orgasms, finally there was some research done where they put women under an MRI scanner while she was masturbating, and they were actually able to read that that was true. And what they found is that in that women that have these multi-orgasms, it's not like they have these peaks and ups and downs. It's more of this fluttering that keeps you there. And once you do that, you release so much oxytocin, and this oxytocin is a chemical of love, is a chemical of connection. Oxytocin is released when you breastfeed your baby. It's a breastfeed of connection. In fact, they're trying to find a drug that resembles oxytocin so that they can give it to children that have autism, that do not like to be touched. That's how much we are beginning to come together. So we now know that it does exist. We do know that this is capable. Our bodies are capable. So what has really stopped us is this culture, this lack of awareness, this patriarchal society that has told us that we're not allowed to live and experience this bliss. So it's there for us to connect to the divine. We can actually connect to that through our orgasm. Because of so much. Not so much the women in general. When we release more oxytocin. Our body is made to release more oxytocin. So more that oxytocin, women that are multi-orgasmic, what they did is they did a test and they looked at their saliva, a multi-orgasmic versus someone that has 1 or 2 orgasms. And they noticed that the levels of oxytocin in the saliva was higher with the multi-orgasmic. So when you are actually kissing your partner, after having that, that is a bond that is occurring between you and your partner. Now, when you are actually connecting with your partner or even yourself, and that aura grows, when you're having this orgasm, your aura is actually even growing. And if you are connecting with your partner in that moment of the divine in your breath work, and you're having these orgasms, this aura binds you both together. And that is just an incredible experience to live. And we should not deprive ourselves. And that is the reason I started, is that sharing this information. Is that we as women and men, he, she, they, should not deprive ourselves of this energy that does exist for us and that connects us to the divine. It's been hidden from us. Go ahead.
One thing I wanted to share and ask is the idea of, like, I think for me, even like touching, not only from a masturbation perspective, but just touching yourself, right? Like some of the reasons why, whether you have a partner or not, one thing that I think is important is to just caress your own skin, or whether that looks like putting lotion on for you, or whatever your self-care practice looks like. Would you also agree, Luz, that that's a part of this, like, touch and partnership is the like relationship you have with yourself and how you touch yourself sexually and just purely from the connection, contact point of view?
Yes, it is, Sarah. In fact, there's a lot of research on touch. Children that are in orphanages that do not get touched are deprived, and their development is slower. Their growth is much slower. Not only that, we've done research with monkeys, and you have these wired monkeys, and you with a bottle of milk, and then you have this wired monkey that is covered in this soft, comfortable kind of mama. And the monkey prefers to latch onto that comfort love than they do to the wired with the milk. They'll go drink the milk and then they run and hold on to. So touch is so important. And that's the reason I got it, like I share with my son. People that are differently able, like blind and deaf, it's like people think like, I don't know if you grew up hearing the word the cooties. Oh my God, that person's got the cooties. You can't touch them. That's how they grow up. A lot of people do not want to touch these individuals. So for me, that is the thing I'm here for. Touch. Love. Your breath. We are a society that is so deprived of touch and love. Therefore, it is what it is. It is not acceptable. Our bodies are made to love. Our bodies are made to be orgasmic, to release these wonderful chemicals, to give to the world. Thank you for your love, Cynthia.
I love you.
Thank you. So creating an ambiance and creating a ritual for yourself is really important. I have my own ritual every morning after my bath. I have my ritual for my face. I have a ritual for my oils. I actually put olive oil or almond oil or vitamin E oil on my skin. Then I've got my creams, and I've oiled all my life, and it is a ritual all by myself. I love to love oneself. We are so much deprived, and we can love ourselves. If we're not in a partner, ladies, it's okay. Okay, is anything opening up for anyone? And excuse me.
Go for it, Deb.
Can you hear me? You're being isolated.
Oh, one second. Sorry, Cassie. Deb, you go first, and then Cassie, and I can be the moderator.
Okay. Can I be heard now?
Yes.
I know that not everybody can hear me, but I hope that I can. So you may have brought up this subject. I wandered off for a second. I'm back now, but this year of isolation just seems like it's really created even more of that awful feeling of isolation, because now, to be safe, we have to be isolated. And my latest post was about, that no organism survives being isolated. And we have this huge dilemma now between being safe from COVID and staying in connection with each other, especially, if you only have a small pod, of a family. And just there's really no question. It's just kind of a reiteration of the awful situation that we're in now, being forced to isolate. And it just reinforces this feeling of isolation that our culture is already, deeming important for us to, not touch each other. So how we navigate this time of forced isolation and how we can remedy that. I mean, just with self-touch, it doesn't seem like enough, really.
Yeah, I got it, Deb, and I do believe the more connection. If we have a pet, that really helps to exchange and create as much as we can. And I think, my personal opinion, that is one of the illnesses that we have. I do love cultures that really embrace more touch. And there's a difference. There's more smiles and happiness.
What Deb said, just so everyone who couldn't hear her, is she was just sharing about the current state of the world. So not only in a society where some of us may already feel like we can't touch, you know, in the normal society that we live in, we have COVID and we have isolation and a lot of different things that are being not created, but things that we're living with or dealing with, considerations. And how do we balance that? How do we create more touch in our life and also not get really sick, literally energetically, just from this, what we're experiencing. So I love what you said, Luz. And honestly, Deb, that's something that I feel really was so hard for me. I'm such a touch person. Like, I touch people and I hug people. What I have learned is not everybody wants a hug, but what is the tough part about right now is that finding this balance of really respecting people and their wishes. And so I find that I still find ways to touch people. I'm really clear about consent, and I ask them first what their experience of COVID and all of it, I don't mean quotation marks, but this whole experience of life for people, where they're at, and is it okay if we create a sacred space where we can hug, and what does that look like, and qualifying that with each other. So anyways, that's just my
Thank you. I know. Casey?
Cassie. Yeah.
Cassie?
Yes, hi. Oh, that was really good.
Did we lose you, Cassie?
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Are you there?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. There we go. I can hear you.
You and with everybody is really making me realize that this is the kind of work that I want to put out in the world as well. When I do eventually start coaching, I think that this is a very powerful topic, and I have recently become awakened, not recently, but in a way of wanting to teach people and becoming aware and awakened to this bliss, and really embodying it in everything that I do. And it has brought up a lot of triggers for other people, even people who are close to me. Yeah, and it makes me realize like how important this work is, and I just want to really honor you and thank you for putting this work out into the world and making me more aware of that inside myself, and wanting and the passion that I have to help other people with this in a tantric sense, energetically, in many areas of life. So I think my own question that I had earlier, I'm not sure, I think it was around rituals, but I feel that I really wanted to get that out for myself and for everybody here too.
Thank you.
Maybe just repeat what she said if you'd like, Luz, or I can.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Well, one of the things she shared that was really powerful, how being part of this weekend has really connected her to her own bliss, or her own power, her own self. And this power, what it's doing is really creating this new journey, this possibility of this new journey to become a coach and to bring this to the world. And personally, I just find that to be just wonderful and honor you for that, because we do need it. It is a need out there. The society has disconnected from this energy source of who we are. And even if I do see that Western medicine is beginning to understand more and is looking for more ways to prove it, we still are now connecting all that in, and just to be able to share that with the world, this energy that's out there, and love and bliss, it's wonderful. So thank you for that. Okay. So I think I do not want to I do not want to leave without just going over how do we create more orgasms. Number one is what gets in the way are our own thoughts, the roadblocks, whatever culture experiences that we've had that are so embedded in our brain that deter us from it. These beliefs, the shame that we may have over our body, or shame of sex, have orgasms that are inside the vagina, and there's areas, there's also anal orgasms. When you become multi-orgasmic, you actually almost feel these orgasms anywhere in your body just by the touch. Anywhere you touch, it just has. Now, they're not the same explosive, but they're different. You can actually feel this wave of continuous, and it's everywhere in your body. It just changes. You feel it in your chest. You feel it in your throat. It's just like the whole body. And the reason is because you have this huge flow of chemicals of oxytocin and prolactin that flow, dopamine that are flowing all in our bodies. And the key to maintaining this is the hesitation. The more you hesitate and you hold that foreplay, hold it, and then you get it, and then you hold it, and then you try again, and then you try again until you continue to have this flow orgasm. And when you least expect it, you will have many orgasms. But do not demand yourself like you have to have them now, because this moment you put like a result of what it's going to look like, then you go in your brain, because it is not a brain, it is actually a body connection. It's not in here, it's really through the whole body, so it's really important. So the longer you extend foreplay with yourself, or you do your breath work, is really important. I find it to be very helpful. I share that with my clients, especially if there is something that it's stuck there. You can actually release a lot of it just through that aha breath. You want to create an ambience. Your room needs to be a space where it's a place of peace, a space of rest, and a place of sensuality. You want to acknowledge all of that you are as a human being. We sometimes acknowledge our abilities to think and analyze and get things done, but it also means our bodies are made to rest, our bodies are made to heal, and our bodies are made to be sexual. And that is one great way to connect with the divine. Take care of yourself, touch yourself, love yourself, recognize yourself, forgive yourself. And another way too, when you're connecting, is use your muscle. Both the man and the woman, when you're having an orgasm, to stay connected to the orgasm, you hold like Kegel, but it's actually even deeper, and you just hold it when you're having an orgasm and see what that does for you. Change your breath patterns and let it go. So continue to enjoy, just hold and let go. And this is true for both male and female bodies. And those are the ways that will allow you to get your brain to be connected with your body through your breath, and you have your Kundalini energy, and knowing that once you're there, you're connecting with the divine. And it's a beautiful experience. Any other comments, questions?
We had a question on where is the G spot?
Okay, where the G spot? If your body is facing the computer, so you're standing front, and if you were to actually put your finger inside the vagina, right about 2 inches, facing forward, that's where the G spot is at. So if you could actually insert your finger in about 1 inch to 2 inches right in front is where that G spot is at. You can actually stimulate that G spot, and sometimes you can even have wetter orgasms. You can even squirt by touching that G spot. I hope I was able to answer it exactly where its location. Was I?
Yep, that was just a question that came in, so I put it out there for you. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Deb. Oh, Ellie.
Yeah, that's Allie.
Okay. Yes, you can have an orgasm inside your vagina. So when the man or your finger or your toy, it goes inside the vagina, right at the beginning of the uterus, right where it connects. So you have the canal, and then you have the uterus. Right around there is where the A spot is at. So when that's another type of experience of having an orgasm. And the experience is different. It's not the same. And I think a lot of the women think they stop giving up on themselves because they experience clitoral, which is one of the biggest, women describe that to be the biggest orgasm. And they look for the same type of experience, but it's different. And the beauty in this beautiful flutters or strong is wonderful. And you can also have anal orgasms too. There are women that have very powerful anal orgasms. I don't know what else.
Yeah, I think we have about 3 more minutes. That was our extension until 12:22 Pacific Standard Time. So any other questions that come in, or if you'd rather message Luz privately, or Luz, is there any, as far as like where they can find you, how they can connect with you?
Yes, you can find me at Discover Passion with Dr. Luz, discoverpassionwithdrluz.com. I'm also I also gave my number. It's area code 619-261-7910. Area code 619-261-7910. That's my phone number. You can contact me there. I also have just started another business, and I just like to share that with you. I am a secret keeper, and I started this because sometimes there's people, oh, we need to do, we have a secret that we need to share and let it go. So that's another thing I do. I don't charge much for that one because I believe it's something, I don't have a website yet, but we need to let go and share a secret that could be bothering us, and it's in there. So I'm about to create that, and all I do is for 10 minutes of sharing your secret is just the $20. And I'm making it because after a big meditation that I had, I believe that this is something I just need to let people know. Sometimes we hold on to something, and that's one thing I learned in my field in clinical. Sometimes we have a secret that when we were young that is there, and we just need to share it and let it go. So I'm also a secret keeper. I think there's something out there that you'll see. I have a nonprofit. I am a founder and the president. It's called Latinas with Purpose. Our book will be out soon. So I create this wonderful book with women writers and artists. And I'm really excited for that too, that book to be coming out soon. So it's Latinas with Purpose there. Secret and Discover Passion with Dr. Luz, and my phone number is area code 619-261-7910.
Thank you so much, Luz. I just want to acknowledge your courage and your bravery and showing up powerfully. I think that having this conversation and understanding that sex, orgasm, touch isn't a bad thing, if we can come back into that space of pure bliss and just start there, then we can heal everything. So I honor you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. So yeah, if anyone has any other questions, you can direct message Luz or walk up to her. We are beginning in about 1 minute, or actually right now, because now it's 12, sorry, right? 12:22. Okay.